I would like to welcome everybody to the fund reporting webinar. Today we will give an overview of how fund reporting is being developed and how we are proceeding with whatever new features will come in the near future. And for that, I would also like to mention that everybody has migrated to the newest version as of now. And we are going to present today the newest version. And in this newest version, we still have the old account. So that means that if somebody has an account, a company account, and has also a personal account, they may not have been merged yet. Because we need people's there. They need to email us and ask if we can merge them for now. So for us, it's not completely clear always who is the UBO and who likes to be connected to their company. It needs to be two separate accounts or one. And from that, I think that's first introduction, and we love to jump into it. For that, I have invited our main developer, that's Gus, on the call. And Gus will take it from here and share his screen, and we will go into fund reporting.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Rowan. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to get into it. So without further ado, Let me just share my screen. And Rowan, if you could confirm that you are seeing my screen, we will go back to the start.
It's there.
Great. So what we have done today is put together a test account to show you the sort of inner workings of what a portfolio or a company might look like, that is with investments into funds with fund structuring, or also your own personal assets. This could be Bitcoin, this could be your personal Ferrari car, or tracking commercial property ownership as well. And those are a few examples, but the opportunities here are pretty much endless, as we will see. And it all starts from your homepage, what you can see on my screen here. And you will all be, I hope, familiar with your sidebar. That is the section on the left, which lists for you all of the relevant entities that you have connected to your account. You may have just invested into a fund via your own personal portfolio, and therefore that's what you'll see. Or you may have companies that your personal portfolio are part of the or as a UBO of that company, and that we'll see that as we dive into them. What we can also see, of course, is the main section of the page, and it gives you an overview of all of the entities that you have attached to your account, the assets that you hold, the liabilities that you hold, and then the total net worth. Rowan, did you want to add anything to this part, or can I dive in?
Yeah, please dive in.
All right, thank you. So entering into your personal portfolio, you can do it from one of two places, either by clicking the link in the sidebar or on the item, your example portfolio here. We will open it up and have this loaded into the page. In your personal portfolio, what you see is a net worth overview, similar to what you saw on the net worth page. If you have a company, you will see something very similar if we click into the company example. However, you will have a cap table. The cap table for your company is practically generated by the transactions that come in and out of your company. So the way we've created a system effectively that allows you to add money into a personal portfolio. But for a company, it's not as simple as just being able to create new money. You actually have to almost invest in the company that you own. And by doing this, you send money to, let's say, your company, and that first transaction will create you as a UBO, an ultimate beneficial owner of that company. If you had no transactions, you would not be shown here. This basically allows us to have multiple UBOs who transact within a company, and from multiple different personal portfolios and overall accounts. So we can see here that Rowan Rosamond, into example company, has invested 1,025,000, and he has 100% ownership, and he has this many shares, and the new value is at a 3% increase due to the good performance of the company. Now, if we go back into the personal portfolio, what we can see here, if we come into our assets, is an array of different asset sheets, different sheets here. And these work just by clicking through them, and you can rename and remove sheets as you wish. You can also add sheets and sections within sheets as you prefer. The most notable assets that most of you will see at this early stage are a cash sheet with cash assets, most notably euro assets, I imagine. And you will also see a fund structuring sheet, and potentially also a company sheet if you have a company relevant. These three sheets, and I'll get to the stocks and crypto sheet in a minute, are basically what hold your holdings, your investments, and the cash used to purchase these investments or purchase the notes. So if we come into our fund structuring sheet here, a lot of you may be familiar with FSAIF Index 01, and here we see an overview of my holdings. So I own 72 units, and the market value is 30,000 euros. The cumulative value is 33,900 euros, roughly, and this is my 20% gain on that holding. Now, this is an overview. If we were to click into our menu, we are able to see a much larger breakdown of our, and if I of our overall growth and our portfolio value. This overall growth is actually a reflection of your ledger, and the ledger is probably the most interesting part for a lot of you in your investments. And we've built this sort of with Excel in mind, and in this way really give you a clear breakdown of how your investment is performing over time since that purchase. Rowan, did you want to mention anything at this juncture?
Yeah, I mean, this ledger actually gives you a very nice overview of everything that's happening. So there's the initial investment, which is the top line. You invested a certain amount, and you see the net asset value that you bought into at that particular time. And then the next row, which it starts with a 1 and is the dark green row, states the first date of that period until the end of that period. And your unit, well, in this case, it remains the same, is in the first after that. And so you get a line of every, well, in this in this example, a month, right? A line of every period, a quarter, a line of every period with everything that's happening. So from fees that are paid, the beginning NAV, end NAV, your position as a whole, and the percentage the net return, the net mutation. So if money is then the money is added to the cumulative value, and at the end you'll see the cumulative value. Now in this example that we have open here, there is no distributions. There is no money sent out. Oh, there are. Sorry.
There are.
There are. So you'll see between the periods, you see a distribution, and that's money sent out to the investor. So therefore, you also see after each period which amount is sent to the investor, and the database works in such a way that that 750, for example, that was sent after period 1 gets credited to your euro assets.
Yes.
So therefore, and that's I think a very important thing to understand, is you see in your cash assets, you see it go up, the amount, because
and here we can see that here.
Yeah, fund structuring sends you cash, and there the cash positions end up in your cash overview. Now, of course it can mean that you don't keep the cash, that you spend it, and therefore you need to lower your cash position. However, the portfolio will see it as, hey, the cash is still there. You can either reinvest it into something else, or spend it and then lower your cash position. But yeah, it gives a whole overview also on fees. A lot of people want to understand the fees as well. So that's there. Now you cannot click into the fees yet. However, that's something we want to develop next, so that you get also an overview of the exact fees. For some funds, there are multiple fees, and then you get an overview of that. So yeah, that's I think very important. The thing we want to also do next here is the documents tab on this, which is going to be very important, where you're going to have your agreement, where you're going to have documents related to this particular position. Yeah,
indeed. I think that you hit the nail on the head there, Rowan. That's exactly what this does. Now, documents is at this asset level is actually available to use. So were you to add a document here and related to this asset, this would save under this asset. What we have to do internally is, now that we've set up the positions, go in and actually add the relevant documents that we have and connect them to the relevant assets within your portfolios, so that you can see those automatically there. But again, adding your own assets, you're going to be able to do this documents upload as well, leave things like notes, and look at various reporting. So in this case, this is a fund. It is set as class non-investable. At the moment, it's already investment, and this is blocked. But if it was, for example, to be something like a euro asset, you could decide, or for example, a Bitcoin asset, let's say, you could decide whether you set that as an investable option or non-investable, or can easily be converted to cash there. So that's also something that is quite interesting. Yeah. Moving swiftly on, then, I want to take you now into the company entity.
By the way, in the meantime, I see already a question in the chat. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. We will definitely take them into account. On the first question that was raised, when I do have a new investment, does the cash position then automatically goes down? That is correct if you choose that option. So if you put a new asset in, you can choose between using the money that's in the account or adding new money in if it's a personal portfolio. If it's a business portfolio, you first need to put new money in via your personal portfolio and then invest into the business.
Yep.
Or mutate the cash position is also another option, so that you just have more cash. And the last option you have is that you buy something with leverage, which we will show later, and then it's cash that you that you get from somebody else, and therefore is a liability. Gus.
Yes, good. Yeah, I will. Sorry, I can't actually see your questions live on screen as I am looking at my own screen. So Rowan, just if something pops up, just let me know, and I'll be happy to also answer if necessary. And you make a good point about liabilities, because that's something we're going to be looking at now. So your company also has its own cash assets. The only thing that we have said about the only difference between the portfolio and the company, as Rowan mentioned, is that you can mutate new money in out of thin air if it is in your personal portfolio. However, if it is related to a company, you send that money, you first mutate that within your personal portfolio and transfer those funds to your company, therefore making yourself or whoever makes that transfer a UBO. So in this instance, we have a positive balance of 500,000 euros, and actually the rest of some of our euros invested in come into our A notes investment, which we made within our company. And exactly the same rules apply. Again, in a company as is with a personal portfolio. So we can move on. The point I want to note here is more around actually adding your own assets. So being able to add your own assets, play around with your own assets, build a portfolio, real or not, and actually just have the freedom to throw in assets as you wish, and start to build profiles and around those. So here we have an example of a commercial real estate property that we created here for this example. And we can see that the total the money in is 1 million euros. And at this very moment, the market value is only 1 million euros because nothing has actually changed there. Now, this 1 million euros is made up of two parts when we created this asset. The first part is simply a subscription into the commercial property of half of the amount, 500,000. And the second half is a loan that we created for this example of the other 500,000 into your commercial property. Now, this loan and loans are something that we are continuing to build and continuing to grow. We will be able to go into much more detail in further release updates in the coming weeks and months. But to give you a general idea of how this looks, your loan is connected to the liabilities page of your overall company or portfolio. So if we were to look at your liabilities now, because we created this loan on the commercial property, you have a dedicated page for your loans and any leverage that you've taken out on assets. Now, as I mentioned, this is the page that's growing and will be growing out even more, so that you have each loan. You'll be able to manage the actual paying off of the loan and the leveraging going forward, and track the returns that you're making on the asset, and then how much you're using or putting towards the repayment of the loan, and various other loan schemes that we are looking at implementing now, or have implemented but looking to improve going forward. So that can be managed within the liabilities page. But for now, just to show that a liability or a leveraged asset is connected always within the asset, and it obviously affects the overall value of that asset, because you have put it, you have that 500,000 has gone into that asset, but it's a part because it's something that we're going to have to pay off over time. We can see already here with an interest rate of 2% there. The next feature I want, and a feature that I personally really like, is this return schemes. So you're also able to, on an asset, set up, and on pretty much any asset really, that allows you to sort of customize the return schemes or the expected returns on an asset. Now, commercial real estate is a good example, because if you think about rental income on a property, it's quite relevant. So in this case, we have created a rental income profile. And what this does is we've set a start and an end date, and start date is today when I bought the property, and the end date is in a year's time. And I have said that on the 30th of each month for a year, I am expecting to get 2,000 euros per month of income.
Yeah, so this is an example where, for example, you rented out the property for a year to somebody, and you put in the return scheme. In this example, it's property, so it's somebody that's renting it. You can put it in, and you can track it.
Exactly. And you have this true income at the moment set to 0. Now, how this effectively works is the moment this collection date is passed, so obviously this is in the future, so it is not accessible right now, this becomes undisabled, and you are able to confirm your income. Confirming your income basically allows you to approve of any income that was made on this property, and therefore set a chain reaction of transactions with a click of a few buttons that show a return on the asset, and then you deciding where does that return go within your company or your portfolio. So does it go back into euros? Did it just disappear and go out of the portfolio? Or potentially, later on, did you send it to your euros to then use to reinvest in the property, or to reinvest in another asset completely? So return schemes are a really interesting feature that is also going to be developing into the future. But already now there is the possibility to create these return schemes and see how this works. Otherwise, within your let's go back to the portfolio. Probably one of the parts of this that we most enjoyed building, Rowan and I, was the way you can actually add assets. Now, we spent a fair bit of time deciding the nicest way and the most sort of the easiest way to add assets. Obviously, some assets require some more extra detail, and some less so. So we tried to find a middle ground in which it was easy enough to add assets quickly, but also be able to add the detail necessary for these assets. So we came up with this conversational style walkthrough, and this effectively allows you to add your assets in steps, add information to your assets in steps, and move through the steps quite quickly. You have two options at the beginning, whether it's a manually entered asset, let's say your Ferrari, which we can't really figure out the value of your Ferrari for you. It's something you have to manually input over time. Or a live ticker, like, for example, Bitcoin, which we can find here. There are a fair few live tickers that we can that we have access to, and being able to.
We have over 60,000 live tickers at the moment. And that's mostly American tickers and European tickers. And we're building that out to Asian tickers as well. And we need plugins for all of them. There's no one provider in the world that does that well. But yeah, this is a really nice feature.
Yeah. So we our aim is to offer all exchanges around the world with as real time, with getting the real time price as much as possible and where possible. So or as close to as possible. So things like Bitcoin, things like cryptocurrencies, are much easier to get. But then when you're looking at Taiwanese exchanges, for example, the data becomes a little less accessible. So slowly, we're onboarding each of those exchanges as we go through. But the main tickers you should have access to. So going down, we're able to decide what is the quantity of Bitcoin we purchased. So how much of Bitcoin, how many Bitcoin did we buy? We could say just the one, and that we paid 100,000 for that. And the indicative rate is not actually relevant. It's something that you can say if you have bought more than one. So let's say you bought two, the amount would be 200,000, the indicative rate would be 100,000, so 100,000 each. However, it's not something that you need to set. Now, the currency we purchased this Bitcoin in was with euros, and we bought them 8 days ago. We can add them to a sheet and save the asset. We can then add documents. So these documents are then saved to the asset and shown on the asset card as we saw before, and continue. The easiest and quickest way to, as Rowan mentioned earlier, to add a Bitcoin, an asset, for example, is to use this new money in option. And new money in effectively allows you to create money out of thin air to pay for to set off a chain reaction of transactions, starting from money arriving in your Euro account, then being sent to Bitcoin, and then you receiving those Bitcoin and it showing on your portfolio. So in this case, you can also select the cash asset that it arrived from. In this case, it is euros because you have selected it as euros, and we can complete the asset. Now, what do we see here? We have purchased our Bitcoin, and the successful purchase of our Bitcoin shows us immediately a graph since the day we purchased that Bitcoin. So, and also our ledger, this graph is a representative of our ledger, I mean to say. Now, the reason why we see 87,595.46 is because that is the current value of our one Bitcoin in euros at this present day. We obviously bought it at 100,000, and this is what we can see here. And then our ledger, our live ticker ledger, tells us after each day what was the end price or the close price of Bitcoin up until the current price. This is then reflected in our sheet. Funnily enough, I have created a Bitcoin asset twice. This is less relevant, and going forward, I hope to release features like being able to merge assets so that you can if you were to add two assets, you could merge them together. But again, these are features coming up.
Gus, for this,
yes,
you're also able to add a return profile. for example.
Of course.
Not the best example, but let's maybe go into that a little bit because it's a question that was raised. Interesting page. What are the possibilities to add rows to the rental income, or can we click plus add, or is this still under development? Is the question.
Sorry, when you mean add rows to the rental income?
Yeah.
Maybe
show that. That's good.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. So in theory here, we have the ability to create a return scheme, and you have two options: a compounding growth, or just cash flow, so actual real income coming from the asset. As we mentioned, on Bitcoin, it's not the easiest example to manage, but if I was to actually just go back to our commercial real estate, maybe it becomes much more relevant to what we're discussing here. So you can add multiple rental schemes. So it doesn't have to just be one. And by doing this, we can add a return scheme. And I want to add another rental income scheme because I'm getting two. Let's say it's a commercial property that has multiple sub properties that pay rent. So we can say rental income 2. We have our start date, which is on the 16th, and our end date, which is on a year from now, we can say on the 16th. We're now asked, how is this income distributed? So let's say monthly. And what am I expected to receive? In this one, I'm expected to receive 1,000. Actually, you know what I want to do actually is show you something that, let's say we started this rental scheme on the 17th of October, and we've actually passed a date in which
with the 17th of October, you didn't pass one yet. Then you need to
no,
further back.
Well, it depends when you set the collection date. This is what we allow for here.
Indeed.
So you're right in thinking that, but it all depends on when you're actually setting the collection date. So again, the currency of the income, euros, and in this way, it actually asks you in the calendar for the first month, what is the day that you would like to? What is there you expecting to collect that income? And it will ask you, as it says in here, depending on the income frequency you select, pick a collection date for the first period. This collection date will then be used for remaining periods. So that date will then be used going forward. So let's say the 31st of October, or the 31st of the month. Oh, not sure what's happened there. Apologies. Has gone, is our collection date. So if I was to create a return profile and have it load on the page, our rental income 2 is now available here. And we can actually see that the first period has been surpassed. Obviously, the 31st of October has been surpassed, and we are now able to confirm our income. So we get this pop-up which says, okay, we're confirming it for our commercial property on the return profile, rental income 2, and it is income from our commercial property. The collection date we confirm was on the 31st, and the actual cost, the actual income was 1,000. We can keep it at 1,000. We can select which asset we want to send it to, and
you can add cost if relevant, right? Like let's say there was something that month. Yeah.
Sure. We can then create income, and our income is now recorded as true income. We also receive a ledger, which this is it has now created a return transaction sending from our commercial property to our euros that income, all based on our selections. And that is now a ledger created specifically for this return or this item, this month, let's say. Now, we don't stop you from being able to add more income. You could potentially have income arrive twice and want to set it again, and that could be the case. So you can always, once that's been opened, you can always confirm more and more income, and those items will be shown here. Now, the interesting part of this is you have created a return transaction which has created on the 25th, on the 31st of October, it has sent you €1,000 from your commercial property and to your euros, and now we can see that the value of our euros has gone up by €1,000.
Yeah, and then the second part of the question is, can you also change a return profile once it's already built up? And yes, you can. With the 3 points next to the return profiles, you can change the scheme.
Yes, in fact, it's something that is not published to your guys' full environment yet, but it will be in the coming week. It's something that we've just been working on. At current, there is no ability to change what you can do, but this will open up in this coming week, and you will be able to update your scheme as and when you please to make it as relevant as possible going forward.
If a renter goes out earlier, for example, and your return scheme finishes, or you make a payment plan for if somebody couldn't pay, whatever. Now, on top of this, you can also still make a return scheme which is compounding, right? So this is cash flow, but a compounding return scheme can also be done, and then you can track if your expectations on the value of the asset align with actuals. Also, in the future, we are able to do that with other assets. So you're able to then say, how did my commercial real estate perform against Bitcoin or against S&P 500? We didn't go into charge much yet. You see a chart now when you open an asset, but we're going to do more with charge later. We first wanted to make sure that the actual system of transactions and mutations and liabilities and assets actually works well. I think that's also good to get into the transaction and mutation step, because that actually gives you an overview of how it actually all intertwines. So Gus has already shown the €1,000 that was sent on the 31st. So if these are all transactions from today, but if we go back to the 31st, you'll see that there is that transaction of €1,000 also in this ledger, which shows all the transactions between everything. So
across all assets.
Yeah. So you also get to see, like, okay, what happened then? And you then have a better overview of your transactions.
Transactions and coming actually, up. Sorry, Ron.
Yeah, and transaction is actually money that is transacted between assets, and mutations is something else. That's mutations is values that changed. So something could be worth more, then it mutates to a higher price or to a lower price. And therefore, It's not a cash transaction. So let's, for example, take that Ferrari that Gus started off with. If it becomes less valuable, it mutates down. So let's say you purchase it for 200K and it becomes 180K, then the mutation is minus 20,000. It's not that you lost money, so therefore it's not a transaction, but it's a mutation of your asset. And therefore you get to see in your mutations the past mutations, and in this tab you get to see the transactions.
Sure. And on top of that, of course, with live tickers and live assets where we get live data, they mutate themselves, right? They create ledger items each day because those prices are constantly changing. So we save an end of day price for your asset and show you that, and that is effectively a daily mutation of Apple stock, Bitcoin, Tesla stock, whatever it may be. But however, on your own static assets that you've added in and are managing yourself, you're expected to mutate those yourself.
Yeah. And what is also important to mention there is now you have to scroll through every asset. And we thought about that because if you want to keep your portfolio up to date, you don't want to go through your personal portfolio, then through every asset, then your company portfolio and go through every asset. So therefore, if you connect a return scheme, it automatically is going to make pop-ups on the date of the return scheme. So for example, if you make a return scheme for every asset for a monthly thing of your Ferrari, let's take the same example, then every month it will ask the user, not now, but it's gonna ask the user like, hey, can we update this value right now? That will also show in the next version that the system is actually going to help you keep your portfolio up to date, where all our competitors are completely static.
Indeed. Otherwise, I think we've covered most of what we wanted to go through today. I think we have some time for some questions. Rowan, unless I missed anything super important, we can answer some questions. Should there be?
There are no new chat questions. If somebody wants to still ask something, they can do in the chat.
Well, I'll come back into the meeting now.
But I think we are all there. So if nobody has any questions left, then we're gonna leave it at this, and we hope that everybody had a good introduction on where we are with fund structuring. We have one last question, or can be not. As a client of FS, we have a general account. Are there other accounts?
Sure. So you'll have the ability in the next update to start creating your own accounts. Right now, we're keeping it a tight-knit group of beta testers, which are you guys, because you are with our clients of FS, and we want to roll out to you guys first before we roll out publicly and get feedback as well. So that feedback is super welcome as and when it may come in. But no, at the moment you have your client account, and you can actually do everything that we've shown you today. You can do on your client FS account. You have to hold back. If you can, feel free to add assets. You can remove assets. You can remove sheets. You can play around. It's not like you're going to mess up your portfolio by doing any of that. If you just want to see the value of your FS assets, then keeping it clean will keeping it, not adding extra assets will then keep it clean and nice and focused on your FS assets. I would say if you would like to have a mess around account, we could call it, or something to play around, ping us, let us know. We'd be more than happy to create for you an extra portfolio at this stage, so that you're not touching the portfolio that is your main general FS portfolio, but actually having a play around elsewhere. Yeah. Rowan, I think we can definitely do that.
Yeah, we already get from Justin that he wants that, so we'll write that down and we'll create that. Then also I would like to mention once more that if somebody wants to merge their account with their business account and their personal account, because they have invested with their business and with their personal account at Fund Structuring, then please send an email to support@fundreporting.com, and we are able to do that. Now, the one last question I get, is the data also exportable to CSV? At the moment, it's not. We're working on that, and that's definitely something that's going to come into play. And also, then should all the investments be up to date by now, or is it still in progress? Right now, for as far as we are concerned, on the back end, they're all correct. Now, there can be bugs in the front end, and we would love to have you guys know. Our whole client base is on here, so we don't have the whole client base today on the call, but let's definitely invite you all to, if there are irregularities, if you feel there are irregularities on your front end, then please also feel free to send an email to support@fundreporting.com, and we will look at it. This is also very important because, of course, the group we are now working with, our current group, is also our test group. So we will not roll out Fundreporting to external clients, and therefore, indeed, it's not possible yet to get a second account, as Justin Meng asked, and we will make one for him especially. And if you want that too, send us an email. But therefore, it's not open to the general public yet. We first want to make sure that we update this system to the next version and the next version, and then hopefully by the first quarter of next year, we're able to fully push Fundreporting out to the general public and have them also use it and learn from that again, because every stage is a learning for sure.
So Esther, yes, just to your question, if you feel like your portfolio is maybe missing a piece or not showing something, just reach out to us. We'll look into it directly.
All right. Good. Well, thank you all, and have a good evening. Thank you for being here. We love that we could present it this way. And if there are any complex questions about the personal portfolio itself or the company portfolio itself, your own, then indeed also feel free to email us. Thank you so much for tonight, and hope you had a good time this 50 minutes. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.